Hello cookies, it's Siri, I'm back, and as you might have guessed from the title of this video, it's going to be another storytime video. First of all, let me say that this is not a clickbait. If you're new here, my storytime titles are not clickbaits. And second of all, I'd like to thank those of you who shared your stories with me as well through private message or Instagram or emails, and those of you who took the time to try and contact me, because I disabled the comments, and I'm going to disable all the comments on my story times just because it is a way for me to get rid of the past. And as soon as the videos are out there, I never want to talk about it anymore. It is not like I don't like you and I don't want to talk to you, but I personally don't want to have to think about that ever again. So that's why as soon as it's out there, it is out there, and then that's the end of it for me basically. But I really am grateful for you who took the time to share your stories, and I was really sad reading them. It's just really horrible, and I feel like no one should have to go through those. And thank you so much for trusting me with your stories. I haven't shared them with anyone, they're private, and it's just our secret. Also, these storytime videos will be spaced about every 5 videos. So every 5 videos in total that I film, I will make one of these. And remember that I also have an anime channel. So the videos are going to be counted both on this channel and on my anime channel. So when it's 5 in total with both of them, maybe like 3 here and 2 there, or 3 there and 2 here, then I'm going to make one storytime video on this one right here. This story happened when I was 15. I was dating this amazing, really kind person, and just for privacy, let's call him D. He came into my life at a time where I had lots of problems with my parents, as usual. I mean, most of my life I've had problems with my parents, but that was one of those really bad times, and I was living with my grandmother. So I was not really happy with my life, and I had really dark thoughts, and meeting him was actually the highlight of my life exactly that year. It was pretty serious for the both of us, and soon I realized that he also had some things that were weighing him down and that were making him very, very sad. He always looked like this very happy-go-lucky person, and everybody liked him. Everybody at school, the teachers. He met my grandmother, he met my family. He was never obnoxious, you know, like the kind of person who tries to attract attention, but at the same time he was very social and really nice, and he had lots of friends. It went on really well for a couple of months, but soon I realized that I started to have a crush on someone at English place where we were studying English. And at the school where we were studying, both of us, there was this guy that he was more or less a celebrity in Mada because he was in this dancing reality TV show. And he never noticed me because he always had lots of girls around him because he was also kind of good looking. And even though I was really happy with D, after a few months I started to always kind of think about that other guy. And at school, when I was seeing him in the corridors or here and there, my heart would beat and I would just feel really weird, and I really did not understand what was happening until we went to an event with the whole school, the whole English school. And I remember we were around the swimming pool, so there was me, there was Dee, and there were a few other people. And Dee was trying to talk to me, and I was trying to reply, but my whole attention was just focused on the guy. He was across the swimming pool with lots of girls around, as usual. And that's when I really realized, I thought, this is not right, because I have a boyfriend that I love, but at the same time I have a really strong crush on this other guy. And I felt very conflicted because for me personally, since I started to date when I was 13, I always considered that cheating is both mental and physical, and both are really bad. And I felt horrible because I felt like I was cheating on him since my thoughts were on this other guy. And in the end, I ended up breaking up. Not to get into details, but D also had some personal problems in his life, that not so many people knew about actually. The teachers at school didn't know. His friends, even his best friend and best friends, they didn't know. Only I knew that there were things that were making him really sad. And we were always sharing with each other the things that were making us sad in our lives. And from the outside, everybody thought that we were both really happy. As a couple, we were really happy because we were very happy to be with each other. But separately, we both had things that were really making us sad. And to be honest, we were both thinking and talking about death very often because we just didn't like our lives then, except from each other, of course. After I broke up with him, he ended up very sad, and I was also really sad because I felt back then that he was the only person that I trusted and that I knew cared for me. But at the same time, why was I thinking about this other guy? And I was really just confused. So I broke up with him. I wasn't happy about that, but I felt like it was unfair both for him and for me that I was with him but not listening to him when he's talking. Instead, I'm focusing on another guy that I have never even really talked to. A few days after we broke up, he sent me this text and he said, you know, I can't really live without you, and if I can't be with you, then I'm going to take some sleeping pills and I'm going to kill myself. And that was the evening, and I read the text and I thought, what? I was very confused, and I messaged him. I was like, come on, don't be like that. I can't really remember what I replied, but I know that I said something along the lines of, don't think like that, or don't do that. You will find someone else, you will find someone better. We were just not meant for each other. It's okay, it's gonna get better. I said something along the line of that, and I said, please don't do anything stupid. Talk to your brother, because he has a brother, or talk to me, or talk to someone. So in the morning when I woke up, I had a really weird feeling. I don't know how to explain it, but I had a really weird sensation. And I remembered the text that he sent me the night before. So just to double check, and I was like, of course it's going to be fine. I was 100% sure it's going to be fine. But just to double check, I was like, hello, how are you? Are you feeling better? I know that a good night's sleep usually makes you happier. By I think 10-11 o'clock he still hasn't replied to me, and then I felt, what? That's really weird, because he always replies to me straight away. So then I started to really kind of freak out a little bit. So I contacted his brother and I said, hey, let's call him M. Hey, is your brother doing anything? Is he busy? Because he's not replying to me. And then M says, well, he's still sleeping. And that's when I felt like my guts were falling. I just felt really cold, and I said, wake him up. I said, please wake him up. Just wake him up. And he said, why? I said, just wake him up. He said, he's gonna be pissed at me. I said, I don't care. Just wake him up. And I was like, okay, he's gonna wake up. He's going to be fine. A few minutes later, he called me again and he said, he's not waking up. I don't know what's happening, but he's not waking up. I'm trying to move him like this and to shake him. He's not waking up. What am I supposed to do? And I told him, I was like, I think he sent me a text yesterday about that he's gonna take sleeping pills. Try to find the sleeping pills, call someone, go to a doctor, just do something. And at that point, both of us were really freaked out on the phone, and I was like, please keep me updated. And then he hung up, and I was just staying there in my grandma's house, and I was really thinking, what am I supposed to do? What am I gonna do? And it was just all completely crazy. We ended up at the hospital. I saw M there, and he wanted to talk to me. So he was like, hey, what happened? Why is he like this? I found your pendant, as in Dee and I had a necklace that we both had, and it was the same pendant. We bought the same pendant to each other just as I don't know, it was our thing. And he said that Dee was holding the pendant in his hand when he was found. And he also found the lyrics of Anywhere by Evanescence. That was one of our favorite songs together, laying next to him, that he kind of copied by hand as well. And that's when I told him that we broke up, because not so many people knew we broke up, and I expected him to be really angry, to blame me. And honestly, back then I thought I would be okay if he started screaming at me or trying to punch me or anything like that. But he was just quiet for a while, and then he said, "Oh, I see." I couldn't sleep that night. I was always on my phone trying to talk to Em and getting some news, and I was like, "Hey, how is he? What's happening?" And Em was really, really nice to me. He was like, "Don't worry, I will always let you know if there's anything that happens." And he was always updating me if things got better, if things got worse. And I told him that I had English class the day after, but I was not planning on going because I didn't feel like it. I mean, the situation was what it was, and the last thing I wanted to do was to go study English. But he said, "No, you should definitely go because it will take your mind off, and it's better if you focus on something else, because you worrying or crying is not going to help you. So it's better if you just air your head, because anyway, there's nothing you can do." And he really convinced me to go. And he was really just so kind to me. He was never angry at me, never said anything negative, anything mean. And come on, I just broke up with his brother that he really loved, his little brother. He knew then why his brother did what he did, but he never blamed me. It was just so sweet. So in the end, I listened to him and I went to English school the day after. While I was in the bus, I got a call from Em, and before I picked up, I had this dreadful feeling, and I thought, no, come on, we've been in touch the whole evening and the whole morning. He's just updating me. It's just a normal update. And when I picked up the phone, he just said he died, and then he hung up, and I was like, I couldn't believe it. I was in the bus, there was a traffic jam. I remember there were so many people. Malagasy buses are not like Swedish buses, and I would guess not like US buses. It's still the old school bus where everybody's really tight and squeezed like that. And it was a full bus, and I remembered I started to just lose it and cry, and I just started to sob really loudly. And this lady next to me, she was like, "Shh, shh, don't cry like that. This is shameful. Like, get a hold of yourself. This is not the place to be sad like that. You're just making a fool of yourself. You're being stupid." And I remember not listening to her because I really didn't care. But thinking back at it, every time I remember that, I'm so mad, because do you think that I would like to just cry and lose it and sob really loudly in a traffic jam in a bus full of strangers? No, I probably had a reason. It was just the worst thing that has ever happened to me, and I just felt like my entire world just died as well. My father called me and he was really mad at me, and he said, "What are you planning to do?" And I said, I'm going to the hospital. "Don't go there. You're a murderer. You're a freaking murderer. You killed those people's son. They're going to rip off your arms and they're going to freaking beat the hell out of you because you're a murderer and you killed their son. Do not go there. You have no right to go there because you're a murderer." And I didn't argue, because I've learned that you don't argue with my father. But I still really just wanted to go there. So instead, I just went back home to my grandma, and then I went to bed and just cried and cried and cried and cried the rest of the day and the rest of the night. And I didn't sleep. I was just crying all the time. The day after, or 2 days later, I can't really remember, we were supposed to go visit the family. That's a Malagasy thing to do, where you have usually the person who is deceased in the living room, and then everybody comes and pays respect. And the plan was that I would go with my parents. And I remember that I was getting ready at my grandma's place, and then I went to my parents' place, and my father was really mad at me, and he was really like yelling, and he was telling me about how I was such a murderer, I was such a horrible person, I should be ashamed of myself. And my mom was just there. She didn't really say much, but she didn't deny what he was saying either. And when we were on the way there in the car, I remembered I was kind of feeling really strange, and then I was really quiet in the car, and my father said, "So what do you think now? Is it nice to be a murderer?" while we were on the way there. And he was always trying to make me angry. I don't know why, but he was saying really mean things, that I was a murderer, that I killed Dee, that I should be ashamed, and many things like that. And by the time we arrived at Dee's house, I was completely destroyed. I was not even crying anymore because I just felt so mentally and physically tired. It was really bad. And before we arrived, before we entered the door, I remembered thinking, my father is right. These parents are going to kill me. They're going to beat the hell out of me. They're going to yell at me. They're going to be so angry, and it's going to be okay because I deserve it. They have the right to be angry. But when we got there, his dad and mom, they were really nice to me. They were like, "Hello, how are you? Are you feeling okay?" When I saw Dee, I remember that I almost passed out. I felt really weak, and then I just kind of almost fell. And I had to sit down because I just couldn't bear looking at him. He just looked like he was asleep, and he was so handsome, and it felt like such a loss because he was such an amazing person, and I felt so guilty, and I felt so mean, and so I felt like I didn't deserve to be there in front of his parents because it should be me there, not him, you know? It was really bad, and at some point I just couldn't take it anymore, so I went outside and I just ended up running until I got really tired. I ended up in a field full of really tall trees, and then I heard some footsteps behind me, and that's when I realized I'm in the countryside in the middle of nowhere, and now I think I'm lost because it's really dark. There was no street lights. It's the countryside. It was basically They said, "You know, I'm not mad at you. My parents are not mad at you. Of course, we're all very sad, but my dad asked me to tell you that it's not your fault, and it was his choice, and it's really hard." And I told him that the last days, I basically realized that I just lost a person that really, the only person that I felt like really cared for me, really loved me, and also realized that I still loved him, which was really horrible because then I realized that yes, I might have had a crush on the other guy, but in the end, I still really loved Dee, and now I lost him, and I lost him because I broke up with him. And I told that to him, and he said, "No, it's not your fault, it was his choice." And we were both crying, and he was really just trying to comfort me, and he was hugging me all the time, and he was like, "Come on, let's go back, you're gonna get cold." He gave me his jacket. My parents and some family members and everybody at school and my teachers at school, everybody was blaming me. I was blaming myself so much. I was so angry at myself. I felt guilty, I felt angry, I felt stupid, I felt lonely, I felt sad and depressed. And my teachers at school, they changed their attitude towards me. They didn't openly say that it was my fault, but they were really cold towards me, and they looked at me in a really not so nice way. Some of them acted the same way as usual. Some of them were just themselves, I guess, but many of my teachers at school were really giving me weird looks after that, and they were just, you could feel that they were disapproving the whole situation. And then all of my classmates, of course, his friends, the classmates, everybody blamed me, looked at me differently, and some people were talking about me when they knew that I was around, and they were saying things out loud like, "Yeah, of course that was expected, she must be the devil itself, she must be very evil, how can they let her come back to school after she killed someone?" And everybody was really against me, and I had no friend, I had no one who who was there. And at the time, I thought it was normal, as in, of course, I was really hurt by everybody's attitude, but I felt like I deserved it and that it was just normal because, yes, I did kill someone. I felt guilty. I lost the person I loved, and it was just a total mess for me. But the thing is, his family, like I said, they never blamed me. M was always talking to me every day, and he said that, yes, you know, I'm worried about you and my father is worried about you as well, and he told me to keep an eye on you and to ask you how you were because we already lost D and we don't want to lose you because he loved you so much that he did this. So we as his family have to respect the love that he had for you. I ended up being very depressed after D's death, actually, and this will make up for another storytime video because I don't feel like I can talk about this all at once, but I tried to kill myself as well after a few weeks after Dee's death, and I was saved because they found me in time, but I took the same sleeping pills that he took, and yeah, I don't think people at my school knew about that because after that I ended up not going to school anymore because I couldn't deal with everything, like the hatred of the student, the attitude of the teachers, the memories we had at school. It took me, I'd say 2-3 years before I could say Dee's name and I could just talk about him with other people. Before I just couldn't. I really didn't want to hear his name. I didn't want to hear about the event. I tried to really forget them and focus on other things because that was the thing that hurt me the most. But my family, they found it fun to kind of remind me every now and then about that. Just someday we would just go back from school home and then one of my brothers would be, so, are you missing D yet? About 3-4 years ago, I realized that it was his choice. He was a really smart person. He knew what he was doing. Now I realize that it's not my fault. Whoever told me and tried to put into me and tried to bring me down and tell me it was my fault, it was not my fault. Yes, I broke up with him, but the decision was his and it's not my fault. And finally, I started to forgive myself and be kinder to myself and really tell myself that, you know, you felt guilty for so many years and you felt like you deserved a bad life and that you didn't want to give yourself the chance to be happy because of that. And it's true, I never really allowed myself to be happy and I was pretty much depressed throughout many years. I had my ups and downs and a few attempts at following him, I'd say, but in the end I realized it's not my fault. I think I felt enough guilty, I've destroyed myself enough mentally and physically. Now it's really the time to pick myself up and try to move on while still remember how he was and the way he taught me to be kind to others. I will continue making more storytime videos, but like I said, it will be spaced by 5 videos or maybe more because it's also really draining for me to get them out there, but I will still keep on doing them. And until next time, I will see you then, cookies, at the next video. Bye.